Hello and welcome to another presentation of the Agua Fria Intergroup's Longtimers. These are men and women with 25 plus years of sobriety. Following a few simple steps, they live their lives happy, joyous, and free. Their stories disclose what they used to be like, what happened, and what they're like now. No one who has achieved Longtimer status is a saint, but they've been willing to grow along spiritual lines. They seek progress, not perfection. If you're willing to stop drinking and want what our long timers have, call the Agua Fria Intergroup's 24-hour hotline, 623-937-7770, to get help today and enjoy life happy, joyous, and free. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Agua Fria Longtimers. Today we have someone who says the people of AA wrapped their angel arms around her and brought her to sobriety. Today we have Victoria. Victoria has been sober since June of 1972. She's a member of the Midday Group in Peoria, and she has a very interesting story to tell. So Victoria, let's hear your story.
My name's Victoria, and I'm a real alcoholic. What it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. I only drank for 4 years. My first drink was with my dad, and we had a bottle of wine before dinner, and then we had wine with our dinner, and then we had after dinner. My father was an alcoholic, but very, very high functioning. I went to college, drank with my friends, and from the time that I was 6, I had acute asthma, so they gave me synthetic adrenaline, which is speed. And so, I didn't have asthma attacks, but the synthetic adrenaline allowed me to drink more. I went to college. I went home and had bought some syringes because I could get them for my friends, and I never got in trouble. I had no consequences, none at all. My dad would bail me out. My last name would get me out of any trouble I got into, because in Kansas, the Madden name was big. We owned half the state. So they would take me home. I never got a DWI. I never was arrested. I never lived on the streets. So I thought, I'm doing okay. But the Attorney General of Kansas went to my lawyer, and my lawyer went to my dad, and then they all sat down with me and said, you need to introduce this guy you knew in Denver to all your friends. And they were wholesalers. They sold in thousands. So I did, because I couldn't go to jail. But I had nothing to do with them getting busted other than just introducing this guy. But because I wasn't there, they busted everybody. There were 4 contracts out on me. And so I quit doing the heavy drugs and went straight into alcohol. And I moved, so nobody knew where I was. And for 2 years, I drank every night. Every time they would take me to the hospital, they would pump my blood and say, you're allergic, but never an alcoholic. So It wasn't the worst night, that last night. It just wasn't. I stopped because I couldn't hide it from my family anymore. I lived in Topeka, Kansas. My family lived in Abilene, Kansas, which was an hour and a half away. I woke up the next morning and my car went in there. Of course, I always have blackouts. I thought everybody who had one drink went into a blackout. I really did. I looked out the window, my car wasn't there. I thought, oh shit. And I'm in Abilene. So Dad comes in and he says, what do you want to do about this problem? I said, well, I want help, which I did. I just couldn't imagine life without some kind of something. So before I could change my mind, Dad went down and he bought me some clothes, threw them in a suitcase, got me in the car, and drove 4.5 hours to a treatment center. And the only treatment center in Kansas was the State Mental Hospital or a new place called Valley Hope. And I thought, all the way down there, I thought, oh, this is going to be a nightmare. They're going to put me in a cage and they're going to throw away the key and I deserve it. We pull in and it's an old motel. It had a swimming pool. It was nice, but it was in the middle of nowhere. And I could absolutely understand that my life was unmanageable. But to be that awful word alcoholic was something else. One, I was a lady and only men were alcoholics. It was somebody who was old, and I was 22. And it was somebody who lived on the street, and I made lots of money. So I could accept that I was insane. I just couldn't accept that I was alcoholic. So I left there thinking, well, I'm not alcoholic. But I had a spiritual awakening, truly. I stayed with a lady that was in treatment with me, and she was in a blackout the whole 3 weeks I was there. And she didn't even know I was there. And I had to go to CU Medical Center for, I was hemorrhaging. So I called AA for her. And they said, do you want to go to a meeting? And I thought, why not? We'll find out. They're all going to be old. And they were. Anybody over 40 was old. But nobody said I didn't belong. That was in Aurora, Colorado, the very first meeting I went to. So they just said, we want you to be happy and we want you to have a good life. And nobody said I didn't belong. So then I went back home to Kansas, and I was in a group that started in 1948. It was the only AA group in Kansas. It was Salina Group number 1. And again, they didn't tell me I didn't belong. They started a men's halfway house just before I got there, and there were only 3 meetings a week. And between that, we went to different towns the other days. Those old guys treated me like a daughter. They weren't mean to me. They didn't say, you must do this. What they said was, if you want what we have, you might want to try it this way, and you might want to go in order. Okay, I could do that. I was, in that first year, a lot of things happened. One, I met my very first and only wet brain. He shuffled. And I didn't want to be that, because it could be. I also, we had a radio program that first year, and I talked all year, every Sunday. People would call in and ask about alcoholism and what our story was, and we just gave first names, and that was pretty cool. And then that first year, I was raped, coming home from a meeting, and the guys put their angel wings around me, and I got through it. And then I was going to pick up a lady, which there weren't any women for about 6 months after I got in. And all I could think of is it could have been me. This guy was behind me with no lights on. He hit me from the behind, and I went through a billboard. My car did. And I went through the side windshield and had a major concussion. But all I could think of is that could have been me. Anytime it could have been me. So I felt worse for him than I did for myself. Then I went to meetings, and I got married after the first year. And he said, oh yeah, my first sponsor was a man and his wife who was Al-Anon, and they co-sponsored me. Because again, there weren't women. Anyway, my first husband said, it's either me or AA. So guess which one I chose to eliminate. But it was because I had everything I wanted. And then my father died. And I had 3.5 years sobriety. And I couldn't stop crying. And there were 2 guys. One was my sponsor and another guy that had some years. And they said, we don't know how to help you. So they literally paid for, out of their own pocket, for me to go back to treatment for 30 days, even though I had 4.5 years sobriety. But they didn't want me to drink. That's when I realized that anyway, I came back to AA when I got divorced and my husband died. Not my husband, my dad. My dad was my hero. He was my business partner. He was my daddy. He was my hero. And that's why I couldn't stop crying for 3.5 years, or for over a year. And then I got married. I moved to Wichita and met this guy, and I had 8.5 years, and he'd killed somebody in a blackout. And again, I didn't want to do that. So I stayed sober. Then at 10 years, I married my second husband, and he died of this disease. But I stayed sober because I did what was necessary for me to stay sober today. And that's what those old guys told me to do. They said, I don't care if your little butt's falling off. You run to a meeting, you talk about what's going on, you listen to what they have to say, and you don't drink. Okay, I could do that. So, when I married my second husband, we traveled all over because we sold resort memberships, and a good resort's only good for 2 years. As long as they can envision where something's going to be, whether it's there or not, doesn't matter, because I'm selling air. And I believed in the system. So we did good. We wanted to have a child. We did 9 months of artificial insemination because my husband couldn't have kids, and that didn't work. Then we tried to adopt, and the mother was 15, and she changed her mind. She really liked my husband, but she didn't like me because I made her go to school, and she changed her mind a week before the baby was due. So we let that go. And then we had his secretary said they'd do where they plant the egg in her. But my husband was having an affair, and she had gonorrhea, and I wasn't going to do that. I said no more. So I don't have kids, although in Kansas they call me mom. About 100 people do. But we were and I did get pregnant once, but I lost it. And so I ran to a meeting in Illinois. Actually, I'd never been there. And again, those guys put their angel wings around me, and I got through it. My second husband, I said, died of this disease. And when we did start in Kansas, a women's group, we were called the Squirrely Girlies. Then I met my third husband. He also died of this disease. I had about 26 years sobriety, and he died 11 or 12, 14 years ago of this disease. But I went to meetings every day, and I never realized until my second husband, who died, how families are affected. Because I really didn't think I hurt anybody. Families get hurt. But I learned that, and I don't really pick real well. I mean, I just don't. So am I going to get married again? Probably not. And then after my husband died, there was a fire. I was staying with a couple who were supposed to have really great sobriety, and I was paying them $400 a month, but they paid. I mean, they bought my food until I was diabetic, and then they wouldn't. But there was a fire, and all I had on was a pair of panties. And I tried to get out the window because I was on the second floor, and there was a air conditioner, and I couldn't get it out because the door, its lights off, and all of a sudden, I really believe my dad was in front of me, and because it was plugged in, all of a sudden it comes flying out the window, and my husband, who was 6'4" and 600 pounds, I believe was behind me because he had died, and I wasn't burned at all. I had smoke inhalation, but then I have acute asthma anyway, so and the people in AA in Salina, they paid for everything for an apartment. I mean, furniture, bread maker, everything, glasses, everything. And again, I didn't ask him to do that. Then I got cancer for the first time, and I've had lung cancer 3 times now. The first one, it was in stage 1, and it was non-small cell, but in stage 1, and they took part of my lung. Okay. And then I was in remission for about 8 years, and then I decided to move to Arizona about 4 years ago. And I came here for 2 reasons. One is my sister lives in Surprise, and I hadn't been able to be with her for years. Now I see her once a week, which is really cool. And the other was for Cancer Treatment Centers of America. But my regular doctor put me on Primavera or something like that, cancer thing. And so the second time I got it, I was here. And it also was in stage 1. So they did radiation, and it scarred my lungs really bad. So now I have cancer again. It's in stage 3 or 4. And I did do chemotherapy. When I moved here and had it for the second time, I didn't tell anybody what was going on other than family. The point is, I can't do this alone. And when I told my group, man, they rallied around me. I mean, they took care of me. So I did chemo, and it didn't shrink it, it increased it. So we started immune therapy, and before that I had this port thing. And am I talking too long? I had a heart attack that night. So everything had to be delayed for 3 weeks. So then I went home, and for about, I don't know, the second time we were starting immune therapy, I'd had 1 shot of it, and I had an aneurysm, and it burst, and my doctors didn't think I was going to live. In fact, my heart doctor said, "We don't know why you're living." So did the aneurysm doctor. So I did rehab for about 5 weeks. I was in the hospital in intensive care for 4 weeks. And then I went to a rehab center. I said I'd be there for 1 week, and that's what I stayed. And then I got home health care, which I knew I could get. I have great insurance. So for 5 weeks later, I get double pneumonia. So I'm back in the hospital. They gave me a bunch of antibiotics, and I've been out of the hospital since Friday evening. But now it looks like I may have to be on oxygen forever. But that's okay, I'm still alive. My whole point is that if I don't have anything else to share, it's that no matter what life throws at you, you can stay sober. And that's really my whole story. Thank you.
Wow, thanks.
Thanks, Victoria. That's a great story.
And I honestly don't think that, I don't feel sorry for myself. In fact, when I had the aneurysm and I was so sick, my sister bought me this phone with a red button that you push because she was terrified. And so were my friends. Since I've been home, my friends have come over since Friday, and they've taken me places, and I can drive. It's just these things don't, do much. They only last like an hour and a half, 2 hours. So that's my whole story.
All right, Victoria, thank you very much for taking the time to come out and share that with us. You're proof positive that thanks to the helping hand of AA, that they're there for you and they're there for us when we.
They are every time. Can I have one of these?
And you're also proof positive that meeting makers make it, because you're coming up on 50 years in June of making it sober.
Yeah,
and
June
that
12th.
in itself is a
And when I had the
accomplishment.
aneurysm, all I wanted was let me live until I can get my 50-year chip. But I'm doing okay.
All right. Well, you're going to get it, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you will. Victoria, thank you very much.
Can I sit and eat this?
You can.
Absolutely. There's your Salinas group number 1 on that phone there.
Yep.
You're one of the listed as one of the original founding
I am.
members.
Well, just as a side note here, Victoria, after we concluded the interview of her telling her story, she had more things to say, and I think maybe we ought to hear what Victoria had to say, just on the lighter side of AA.
Your Salinas group number 1 on that phone there.
Yep.
You're one of the listed as one of the original founding
I am.
members. You see?
Actually, I have the most sobriety of anybody there. There was another guy who got sober about 6 months or a year before I did. He was old. he was 40. But I think he died, so now I think I have the record. But that's all right. It was so refreshing to find people that have more sobriety than I did here.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few.
We have a few that we've done recordings of in 50 plus years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but you're right up
But
there.
I truly believe that they are. I mean, AA has always put their angel wings around me.
Yep.
And I really believe that. With their help, I don't need to go out there and screw things up. Now
Even
I
if
think
you
I'm
do pick
through.
husbands fairly, even if you do pick husbands fairly not too well.
I don't.
Yeah, you're the
I
worst.
just don't.
You really are. At least you had these people coming around to put their arms around you.
Yeah. And I went to meetings,
Yep, that too.
even though they were dying.
Hey, some of us have broken pickers.
I do. I do. The only thing I had with the chemo is I lost my hair. Hopefully it's coming back some. But I had no residual effect from the chemo at all. But I think it's because they did pre-allergy medication before they gave me the chemo. So I had no bad
Wanna get that
time.
for
Want me to help you with that?
So yeah, you're listed as one of the first members.
Yeah.
Salinas. Jerry N, Bill S, Becky B.
Yeah, Jerry came in, I don't know, maybe it had to have been before then. About 7 years after I did. That is super wonderful. You are great. Okay, I think I'm gonna go home now.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
this has been your event for the day. You're welcome to go home. This has been your event for the day. You're welcome to go home.
Yeah.
You can take one of those with you if you want.
No, I'm good. One is enough. But it's good.
My wife likes to bake heavy.
Yeah, me too. fact, that's how I thank people.
She does the same thing. We take loads of food to my son and his family, to my daughter and his family, to friends of hers.
Yeah. I do custom gift baskets.
That's nice.
And little breads. Little cakes.
You gonna be all right, Victoria?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
We got it, and I'll give you a call as soon as we got that up on the website, and
Okay.
give you a link so you can see yourself.
That's right.
I mean,
Well,
if that's
I
something
don't-
you really want to do.
I don't have a
Well,
computer.
she has her sister that wants to see it too, so we want to make sure.
Yeah.
we give her the link.
So when you tell you tell your sister when I've got it up there,
Yeah.
and then you guys can look at it.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Victoria. Hey, is this mic on?